Your father pulled into the parking lot on a Friday night and you knew exactly what was coming. The cardboard box with the pictures on it, the small toy hidden inside, the burger and the fries and the cookie all together in one perfect package made just for you. You were 6 years old and you were about to open the first kids' meal ever made in America. You just did not know it yet. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and drop a comment letting us know where you are watching from. The box. You have to start with the box. Because if you grew up in the 70s and your father took you to a burger chef on a Friday night, the moment that defined the whole evening was the moment they handed you that cardboard box. Not a tray, not a wrapper, a box. With pictures all over it. With Burger Chef himself smiling on the front and Jeff, his sidekick, standing next to him, and on the sides there were puzzles and riddles and a little comic strip about Count Fangburger, the vampire, or Burgerini, the magician, or Burgerilla, the talking ape. You held that box in your small hands and you carried it to the table like you were carrying treasure, and you sat down and you opened it slowly because you wanted to see everything in order. The burger first, wrapped in paper, the fries in their own little holder, the drink already in the cup, the cookie in its own corner, and somewhere inside, hidden under the food or wrapped in plastic, the toy. The small plastic toy that came with every single fun meal and was different every week, and you did not know what you were going to get, and that was the whole point. The not knowing, the waiting, the reaching in, the feeling of pulling out something that was yours alone, not your brother's, not your sister's, yours. Because the box was made for you, and the toy inside was yours, and the meal was yours, and for 1 hour on a Friday night in 1975, you were the most important person in that whole restaurant, and the toy. You have to talk about the toy, because nothing else in your week mattered the way that toy mattered when you pulled it out of the box. Some weeks, it was a small plastic figure of one of the cartoon characters. Some weeks, it was a tiny rubber ball that bounced higher than any ball had a right to bounce. Some weeks, it was a paper puppet you punched out and folded along the lines and slipped onto your fingers. Some weeks, it was a flexi disc record so thin you could see through it, and you took it home, and you put it on your father's record player, and a tiny voice came out telling you a story about Burger Chef and Jeff, and you sat on the floor in your pajamas and you listened to it 3 times in a row. The toy was different every week, and your mother would say it is just a piece of plastic, and you would look at her and you would think she did not understand because to you it was not plastic. It was a small piece of magic that came in the box, because the people who made the box wanted to make you happy. Adults did not give kids things just to make them happy in 1975. You earned things. You worked for things. You waited until your birthday or until Christmas. The toy in the fun meal was different. It came every single week. It was free. It was a gift from a restaurant to you. And nobody had ever done that before in the history of America, and you did not know that, but you felt it, and you carried that feeling for the rest of your life. That box was called the Fun Meal, and it was invented by a man named Frank Thomas and his brother Donald in Indianapolis in 1973, 6 years before McDonald's had ever heard of a Happy Meal. 6 years before any other restaurant in America had ever thought to put a child's meal in a special box with a toy. Burger Chef did it first. Burger Chef did it all first. The kids' meal, the cartoon characters on the packaging, the movie tie-in, the toy hidden inside, everything you remember about being a kid in a fast food restaurant in the 70s and the 80s was invented by Burger Chef in 1973. Almost nobody alive today gives them credit for it. The Thomas brothers were not even restaurant people. They were equipment manufacturers. They had patented a flame broiler in 1954 that could cook 2,000 burgers an hour with a 20-second wait between order and sandwich, faster than anything else on Earth. They opened the first Burger Chef in 1957 in Indianapolis as a showroom to demonstrate their broiler to other restaurant owners. That was it. They were going to sell broilers. The restaurant was just a display. And then the customers came, and the customers kept coming. The brothers looked at each other and said, maybe we should keep this restaurant open. 1 year later, they had 40 restaurants. By 1972, they had 1,200, second only to McDonald's, bigger than Burger King, bigger than Wendy's, bigger than anything you remember as bigger than them. The flame broiler that was supposed to be a side business had built the second largest hamburger chain in America, and the brothers were just trying to keep up. And Burger Chef invented things constantly. The Big Chef came out in 1964, 2 patties, American cheese, lettuce, sauce, a bun in the middle. 3 years before McDonald's introduced the Big Mac, your father was eating the same sandwich at Burger Chef and calling it the Big Chef. You know how every burger restaurant lets you build your own burger now with the toppings bar? Burger Chef invented that too. They called it the Works Bar. Pickles, relish, tomatoes, onions, lettuce, tartar sauce, mayo, ketchup, and mustard. You walked up to it after you got your burger and you piled on whatever you wanted. This was in 1965, before anybody else thought of it. And the salad bar that became standard in every restaurant in the 80s, Burger Chef had one in 1973. They were ahead of everything, and nobody remembers them. But the Funmeal, that was the masterpiece. By 1975, the cartoons on the box had become a whole universe. There was Burger Chef and his sidekick Jeff, Burgerini the magician who did magic tricks on the inside flap of the box, Count Fangburger, the vampire and his wife, Mrs. Fangburger, and Fangburger's daughter who showed up in October for the Halloween fun meals, Burgerilla the talking ape, Cackleburger the witch, Werewolf the werewolf, and Frankenburger the Frankenstein parody. There was an entire family of monsters and magicians that lived on the sides of those fun meal boxes years before McDonaldland was ever drawn, years before Ronald McDonald had any friends. The voice of Burger Chef on the commercials was Paul Winchell, the same man who voiced Tigger in Winnie the Pooh. That voice is the one you heard on Saturday morning cartoons, telling you to ask your dad to take you to Burger Chef, and you asked your dad, and your dad took you, and the box was on the table. Paul Winchell's voice was in your head, and you were happy in a way you have not been happy since. Then came Star Wars, May 1977. Your father took you to see Star Wars, and you came out of that theater changed forever. Your whole brain had been rewired in 2 hours. You wanted the lightsaber. You wanted the spaceship. You wanted to be Luke Skywalker. And then in 1978, Burger Chef did something no restaurant in fast food history had ever done before. They got the rights from George Lucas, Coca-Cola, and 20th Century Fox to put Star Wars on the Fun Meal box. 7 different boxes, 7 different scenes from the movie. One box had Darth Vader boarding Princess Leia's blockade runner. Another had X-Wing fighters attacking the Death Star. Another had R2-D2 and C-3PO walking through the Tatooine desert. You went to Burger Chef on a Saturday afternoon in the summer of 1978. You ordered a fun meal and they handed you the box. You looked down and Darth Vader was on the front of your lunch and you almost could not breathe. You took it home, you did not throw it away, you kept it. It sat on your dresser for years and you used it as a treasure box. You kept your pennies in it, your baseball cards, and the rocks you collected from the creek behind your house. R2-D2 himself appeared in Burger Chef television commercials. Real droids from the actual movie stood inside a Burger Chef telling kids to come eat there. McDonald's did not do their first movie tie-in until December 1979 when they did Star Trek, and even that was a year and a half after Burger Chef did Star Wars. Burger Chef invented the movie tie-in. They invented the kids' meal. They invented the toy in the box. They invented everything you remember about being a child in a fast food restaurant in America. And in 1977, they did something else that no kid forgot. The triple play Funmeal baseball season. The Funmeal came on a cardboard tray, and the tray was a game board. You could play baseball on the tray after you ate your fries. The tray came with 9 punch-out discs, and each disc had a real Major League Baseball player on it. Tom Seaver, Mike Schmidt, Nolan Ryan, Dave Winfield, George Brett. 24 different team trays, 216 different player discs in total. On the back of every single disc was a Burger Chef cartoon character. You ate your burger, you punched out the discs, you set up the tray as a game board, you played baseball with your Funmeal at the table, and your father drank his coffee and watched you and smiled. Because he remembered being a kid himself and not having any of this, and he was happy you did. That was Burger Chef. That was what they were trying to do. Not just feed you, make you happy. And it was always Friday. That was the unwritten rule of the Funmeal in your house. Friday night was Burger Chef night. Your mother had been cooking dinner all week, and on Friday she did not have to cook, and your father came home from work tired. He loosened his tie, he sat in his chair for 10 minutes, and then he stood up and he said, "Get in the car." And you ran to the car. You did not walk. You ran. Because Friday at Burger Chef was the highlight of the entire week. Better than Saturday, better than Sunday, better than your own birthday some weeks because your father was there. He was not at work, he was not too tired, he was not reading the paper or watching the news or fixing something in the garage. He was sitting across from you at a small table in a Burger Chef, and he was watching you open your Funmeal, and he was smiling. That smile. You did not see it often enough. He worked too hard, and he came home too tired, and he did not always know how to talk to you because he had not grown up with a father who knew how to talk to him. But on Friday night, at the Burger Chef table, he smiled. He watched you pull out the toy, and he watched you read the riddles on the box, and he watched you eat the cookie last because the cookie was always last. And he did not say much, he did not need to. The smile was enough. The smile was the whole point. Christmas Burger Chef did Christmas Funmeals too. The box had a snowy scene on it, the cartoon characters wore scarves, there were riddles about Santa, and the toy inside was something special, a little nicer than the usual toy because it was December. You went there with your mother during Christmas shopping. The parking lot was packed. Your fingers were cold from carrying bags. You sat down in the warm restaurant. They handed you the Christmas Funmeal box, and your face went red from the cold turning warm. You opened the box, and there was a small ornament inside, or a tiny figure of Burger Chef wearing a Santa hat. You looked up at your mother, and she smiled at you the way mothers smile when their child is happy and they know it. That moment in a small Burger Chef on a December afternoon in 1976 is still in your head right now. You can smell the warm grease from the kitchen. You can feel the warmth of the box in your small hands. That memory has been there for almost 50 years and it has never faded. And then McDonald's just took it. In October 1977, they tested something they called the Happy Meal in Kansas City. By 1979, they were rolling it out across the entire country. A burger, fries, a drink, a toy, a cardboard box with cartoon characters and puzzles on it. The exact same product that Burger Chef had invented 6 years earlier with different cartoons. That was the only difference. Burger Chef saw it happening and they could not believe it. They filed a federal lawsuit for $5.5 million, saying McDonald's had stolen everything, the format, the packaging, the whole concept. The court looked at the case and decided that the idea of a kid's meal in a box with a toy was too generic to be legally protected. Too generic. The thing that Burger Chef had invented from absolutely nothing in 1973, the thing that had no precedent in the history of restaurants on Earth. The court said it was too generic. McDonald's was free to copy it, and they did. They called it the Happy Meal. And every kid in America from 1979 forward grew up thinking McDonald's had invented the kid's meal because McDonald's had the marketing budget and Burger Chef did not. In 1981, Hardee's parent company bought what was left of Burger Chef for $44 million. They started converting the locations one by one. The Burger Chef sign came down. The Hardee's sign went up. Sometimes the building stayed exactly the same and only the name changed. And you would drive past your old Burger Chef and it would be a Hardee's now, and you would shake your head and you would not stop. By 1996, it was all over. The last Burger Chef in America closed in Cookeville, Tennessee. 1,200 locations were gone. The cartoon characters were gone. Burgerini, Count Fangburger, Burgerilla, Cackleburger, Werewolf, and the whole Fang Millie were packed up, stored in a warehouse somewhere, and forgotten. The Star Wars boxes ended up in a museum in Chicago. The triple play baseball trays ended up on eBay for $200 a set. But here is what they could not take. The memory of that box on the table on a Friday night in 1976, with your father across from you, the small toy in your hands, and Burgerini doing his magic trick on the inside flap. The memory of opening a Star Wars Funmeal in the summer of 1978, seeing Darth Vader on the front and feeling like the luckiest kid in your whole school. The memory of punching out a Tom Seaver disc and playing baseball on a cardboard tray while your father drank his coffee and laughed at you. The memory of the cookies, the memory of the fries, the memory of the drink you did not finish because you were too excited about the toy. The memory of being 6 years old in a small town in Indiana or Ohio or Michigan or anywhere in America where there was a burger or chef and a Friday night and a father who said, "Get in the car, we are going for burgers, that is yours forever. Nobody can take it from you." The chain is gone, the boxes are in museums, but you saw them, you held them, you opened them. You were the first generation in America to ever experience what every kid in every restaurant has experienced for 50 years since. You were the original. And the next time you walk past a McDonald's and you see a Happy Meal in a kid's hands, you can smile because you know where it really came from. You were there. You ate the original. You held the first one, and you remembered. If you ever opened a Burger Chef Fun Meal, tell me which character was on the box. If your father took you on Friday nights, tell me which restaurant you went to. If you still have a Star Wars Fun Meal box in a closet somewhere, tell me about it. And if you remember Burgerini doing a magic trick on the inside flap, or Count Fangburger telling a joke on the side of the box, tell me about that too.